Hello, howdy. The next chapter, chapter 5, Diagon Alley. So, I told you this chapter is long and make a stop or pause. And sometimes I must change. Um, it's somebody say something and then comes the name. I change it. I say the name and then the saying. Yeah, I often make that. I changed off Harry Hackett, Harry Hagrid. But I think you know that I mean Harry when I say Hackett, or Harry Hackett when I say Harry. So Harry woke early the next morning. Although he could tell it was daylight, he kept his eyes shut tight. It was a dream, he told himself firmly. I dreamed a giant called Hackett uh, came to tell me I was going to a school for wizards. And when I open my eyes, I'll be at home in my cupboard. There was suddenly a loud tapping noise. And there's Aunt Petunia knocking on the door, Harry thought, his heart sinking. But he still didn't open his eyes. It had been such a good dream. Tap, tap, tap. All right, Harry murmured. I'm getting up. He sat up, and Hagrid's heavy coat fell off him. The hut was full of sunlight. The storm was over, and Hagrid himself was asleep on the collapsed sofa, and there was an owl rapping its claw on the window. A newspaper held in its beak. This newspaper is from the Half-Blood Prince. Yeah. Harry scrambled to his feet, so happy he felt as though a large balloon was spelling inside him. He went straight to the window and jerked it open. The owl snooped in and dropped the newspaper on top of Hagrid, who didn't wake up. The owl then fluttered on the floor and began to attack Hagrid's coat. Don't do that, said Harry. Harry tried to wave the owl out of the way, but it snapped its beak fiercely at him and carried war on savaging the goat. I'm sorry, savaging the goat. Hagrid, said Harry loudly, there's an owl. Pay him, Hagrid grunted into the sofa. What? He wants paying for delivering the paper. Look in the pockets. These are Hagrid's pockets. Hagrid's coats seemed to be made of nothing but pockets. Bunches of keys, slug pellets, balls of string, mined hamburgs, tea bags, and finally Harry pulled out a handful of strange-looking coins. Give him 5 knuts. In Germany, Knuts. I think it's called Knuts. Knuts? Said Harry. The little bronze one. Little bronze. Okay, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So. He counted out 5 little bronze coins, and the owl held out its leg so he could put the money into a small leather pouch tied to it. Yeah, pouch tied to it. Then it flew off through the open window. So Hagrid yawned loudly, sat up, and stretched. Best be off, Harry. Lots to do today. Gotta get up to London and buy all your stuff for school. Harry was turning over. the wizard's coin and looking at them. He had just thought of something which made him feel as though the heavy balloon inside him had got to puncture. Hagrid, said Hagrid. I haven't got any money. And you heard Uncle Vernon last night. He won't pay for me to go and learn magic. Ah, don't worry about that, said Hagrid, standing up and stretching his head. Do you think your parents didn't leave you anything? But if their house was destroyed, said Harry. They didn't keep the gold in the house, boy. Nah, first stop for us is GRINGOTTS, Wizard's Bank. Have a sausage. They are not bad cold, and I wouldn't say no to a bit of your birthday cake, neither. Wizards have banks? Asked Harry. Just the one, GRINGOTTS, run by goblins. Harry chopped the bit of sausage he was holding. Goblins? Yeah. So you would be mad to try and drop in. I'll tell you that. Never mess with goblins, Harry. GRINGOTTS is the safest place in the world for anything you want to keep safe. Um, except maybe Hogwarts. As a matter of fact, I got to visit GRINGOTTS away. Anyway, for Dumbledore. Hogwarts business. Hagrid drew himself up proudly. He usually gets me to do important stuff for him, fetching you, getting things from GRINGOTTS. And now he can trust. Now he can trust me. Got everything? Come on then. Harry followed Hagrid out on the rock. The sky was quite clear now, and the sea gleamed in the sunlight. So I make it a bit short. They drove with a boat to the land, and then start to go to the station and drive to London, the town. And Hagrid asked him if at his book list. So, yeah. Harry put out the letter and started to read. This is my list. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Uniform. First-year students will require 3 sets of plain work robes, black, 1 plain pointed hat, black for day wear, 1 pair of protective clothes, dragon hide or similar, 1 winter cloak, black, silver, fastenings. Please note that all pupils' clothes should carry name tags. Set books. All students should have a copy of each of the following. The standard book of spells, Grade 1 by Miranda Goshawk oder so ähnlich. Oh, sorry. A History of Magic by Betilia Backshot. Magical Theory by Adalbert Waffling. A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration by Emeric Switch. 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Philida Spore. Magical Drafts and Potions by Arsenius Jigger. Fantastic Beads and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander. The Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection by Quentin Trimble. Other equipments. A wand, I often say wand or wand. A cauldron, pewter standard size 2. Set glass or crystal files. Telescope, set brass scales. Students may also bring an owl or a cat or a toad. Parents are reminded that first years are not allowed their own broomsticks. Can we buy all this in London? Harry wondered aloud. If you know where to go, said Hagrid. Harry had never been to London before. Also, Hagrid seemed to know where he has gone. So they're gone. And suddenly Hagrid said, "This is it. The Leaky Cauldron. It's a famous place." It was a tiny, grubby-looking pub. If Hagrid hadn't pointed it out, Harry wouldn't have noticed it was there. The people hurrying by didn't glance at it. Their eyes slid from the big bookshop on one side to the record shop on the other, as if they couldn't see the Leaky Cauldron at all. In fact, Harry had the most peculiar feeling that only he and Hagrid could see it. Before he could mention this, Hagrid had steered him inside. For a famous place, it was very dark and shabby. A few old women were sitting in a corner, drinking tiny glasses of sherry. One of them was smoking a long pipe. A little man in a top hat was talking to the old barman, who was quite bald and looked like a gummy walnut. The low buzz of chatter stopped when they walked in. Everyone seemed to know Hagrid. They waved and smiled at him, and the barman reached for a glass, saying, "The usual, Hagrid." "Cannot, Tom. I'm on Hogwarts business," said Hagrid, clapping his great hand on Harry's shoulder and making Harry's knees buckle. The Leaky Cauldron had suddenly gone completely still and silent. And the old barman whispered, "Bless my soul, Harry Potter! What an honor!" He hurried out from behind the bar, rushed towards Harry and seized his hand, tears in his eyes. "Welcome back, Harry Potter. Welcome back." Harry didn't know what to say. Everyone was looking at him. The old woman with the pipe was puffing on it without realizing it had gone out. Hagrid was beaming. Then there was a great scraping of chairs, and next moment Harry found himself shaking hands with everyone in the Leaky Cauldron. "Doris Crackford, Mr. Potter. Can't believe it. I'm meeting you at last." "So proud, Mr. Potter. I'm just so proud," said the other one. "Always wanted to shake your hand, and I'm all of a flutter. Delight, Mr. Potter. Just can't tell you. Diggles, the name. Dedalus Diggles." "I have seen you before," said Harry, as Dedalus Diggles' top hat fell off in his excitement. "You bowed to me once in a shop." "He remembers," cried Dedalus Diggle, looking around at everyone. "Did you hear that? He remembers me." Harry shook hands again and again. Doris Crockford kept coming back for more. A pale young man made his way forward, very nervously. One of his eyes was twitching. Hagrid said, "Professor Quirrell, Harry. Professor Quirrell will be one of your teachers in Hogwarts." "Potter," stammered Professor Quirrell, grasping Harry's hand. "Can't tell you how pleased I am to meet you." "What sort of magic do you teach, Professor Quirrell?" "The defense against the dark arts," muttered Professor Quirrell, as though he had rather not think about it. "Not that you need it, Potter." He laughed nervously. "You will be getting all your equipment, I suppose?" I've got to pick up a new book on vampires myself." He looked terrified at the very thought. But the others wouldn't let Professor Quirrell keep Harry to himself. It took almost 10 minutes to get away from all. At last, Hagrid managed to make himself heard over the babble. "Must get on. Lots to buy. Come on, Harry." Doris Crockford shook Harry's hand one last time, and Hagrid led them through the bar and out into a small walled courtyard where there was nothing but a dustbin and a few weeds. Hagrid grinned at Harry. Told you, didn't I? Told you I was famous. Even Professor Quirrell was trembling to meet you. Mind you, he's usually mind he you mind you, he's usually trembling. Is he always that nervous? Oh yeah, poor block, brilliant mind. He was fine while he was studying out the books, but then he took a year off to get some first-hand experience. They say he met vampires in the Black Forest, and there was a nasty bit of trouble with a hag. Never been the same since. Scared of the students, scared of his own subjects. But now where's my umbrella? Vampires, hags. Harry's head was swimming. Hagrid, meanwhile, was counting bricks in the wall above the dustbin. 3 up, 2 across, he muttered. Right, stand back, Harry. He tapped the wall 3 times with the point of his umbrella. The brick head touched, quivered, it wriggled. In the middle, a small hole appeared. It grew wider and wider. A second later, they were facing an archway large enough even for Hagrid, an archway on to a gobbled street which twisted and turned out of sight. Welcome, said Harry, to Diagon Alley. He grinned at Harry's amazement. They stepped through the archway. Harry looked quickly over his shoulder and saw the archway shrink instantly back into solid wall. Solid or solid? I think solid wall. The sun shone brightly on a stack of cauldrons outside the nearest shop. There stands cauldrons, all sizes, copper, brass, pewter, silver, self-steering, collapsible, said a sign hanging over them. Yeah, you'll be meeting one, said Hagrid, but we gotta get your money first. Harry wished he had about 8 more eyes. He turned his head in every direction as they walked up the street, trying to look at everything at once. The shop, the things outside them, the people doing their shopping. A plump woman outside an apothecary's was shaking her head as they passed and saying, dragon's liver, 16 sickles on an ounce. They are mad. A low, soft hooting came from a dark shop with a sign saying Ilop's Old Emporium. Tawny, screech, barn, brown and snowy. Several boys of about Harry's age had their noses pressed against a window with broomsticks in it. Look, Harry heard one of them say, the new Nimbus 2000, fast as ever. There were shops selling robes, shops selling telescopes and strange silver instruments. Harry had never seen before windows stacked with barrels of bat spleens and eel's eyes, tottering piles of spell books, quills and rolls of parchments, potion bottles, globes of the moon. Gringotts, said Hagrid. They had reached a snowy white building which towered over the other little shops. Standing beside its burnished bronze door, wearing a uniform of scarlet and gold, was, yeah, that's a goblin, said Hagrid, quite as they walked up the wide stone steps toward him. The goblin was about a head shorter than Harry. He had a swarthy, clever face, a pointed beard, and, Harry noticed, very long fingers and feet. He bowed as they walked inside. So now I must stop. Now they were facing a second pair of doors, silver this time, with words engraved up in them. Here. Enter, stranger, but take heed of what await the sin of greed. For those who take but do not earn, but must pay most dearly in their turn. So if you seek beneath our floors a treasure that was never yours, thief, you have been warned. Beware of finding more than treasure there. Like I said, you'd be mad to try and drop in, said Hagrid. A pair of goblins bowed them through the silver doors, and they were in a vast marble hall. About 100 more goblins were sitting on high stools behind a long counter, scribbling in large ledgers, coins on brass scales, examining precious stones through eyeglasses. There were too many doors to count leading off the hall, and yet more goblins were showing people in and out of these. Hagrid and Harry made for the counter. Morning, said Hagrid to a free goblin. We have come to take some money out Mr. Harry's Potter safe. You have his key there? Got it here somewhere, said Hagrid, and he started emptying his pockets onto the counter, scattering a handful of mildly dark biscuits over the goblin's book of numbers. The goblin wrinkled his nose. Harry watched the goblin on the right, waiting, a pile of rubies as big as glowing coals. Got it, said Hagrid at last, holding up a tiny golden key. Mine's silver. The goblin looked at it closely. That seems to be in order. Oh, I forget something. And I have also got a letter here from Professor Dumbledore, said Hagrid, importantly, throwing out his chest. It's about the you-know-what involved 713. The goblin read the letter carefully. Very well, he said, handing it back to Hagrid. I will have someone take you down to both walls. Walls? Griphook! Griphook was yet another goblin. Once Hagrid had crammed all the dog bequeaths back inside his pockets, he and Harry followed Griphook toward one of the doors leading off the hall. What's the what in Fall 713? Harry asked. Can't tell you that, said Hagrid, mysteriously. Mysteriously? Very secret. Hogwarts business. Dumbledore's trusted me. More in my job's worth to tell you that. Griphook held the door open for them. Harry, who had expected more marble, was surprised. They were in a narrow stone passageway lit with flaming torches, and it sloped steeply. It sloped steeply downwards, and there were little railways tracks on the floor. Griphook whistled, and a small cart came hurting up the tracks towards them. They climbed in, Hagrid with some difficulty, and were off. At first they just hurtled through a maze of twisting passages. Harry tried to remember left, right, middle fork, right, left, but it was impossible. The rattling cart seemed to know its own way, because Griphook wasn't steering. Harry's eyes stung as the cold air rushed past them, but he kept them wide open. Once he thought he saw a burst of fire at the end of a passage and twisted around to see if it was a dragon. but too late. They plunged even deeper, passing an underground lake where harsh stalactites and stalagmites, or stalactites or stalagmites. In Germany, stalactite, stalagmiten, grew from the ceiling and floor. Harry called to Hagrid over the noise of the carts. Oh, I never know what's the difference between a stalagmite and a stalactite. Stalagmite's got an M in it, said Hagrid. And don't ask me questions just now. I think I'm gonna be sick. He did look very green, and when the cart stopped at last beside a small door in the passage wall, Hagrid got out and had to lean against the wall to stop his knees trembling. Griphook unlocked the door. A lot of green smoke came billowing out, and as it cleared, Harry gasped. Inside were mounds of gold coins, columns of silver, heaps of little bronze knuts, and Hagrid smiled and said, "All yours." All Harry's. It was incredible. The Dursleys couldn't have known about this, or they had it from it faster than blinking. How often had they complained how much Harry cost them to keep? And all the time there had been a small fortune belonging to him, buried deep under London. Hagrid helped Harry pile some of it into a bag. "The gold ones are galleons," he explained. 17 silver sickles to a galleon and 29 knuts to a sickle. It's easy enough, right? That should be enough for a for a couple of terms. We'll keep the rest safe for you." He turned it to Griphook. "Fold 730 now, please, and can we go more slowly?" "One speed only," said Griphook. They were going even deeper now and gathering speed. The air became colder and colder as they hurtled round tight corners. They went rattling over an underground ravine, and Harry leaned over the side to try and see what was down at the dark bottom, but Hagrid groaned and pulled him back by the scruff of his neck. Fold 713 had no keyhole. "Stand back," said Griphook importantly. He stroked the door gently with one of his long fingers, and its symbol melted away. Griphook said, "If anyone but a Gringotts Goblin tried that, they had be sucked through the door and trapped in there." And Harry asked, "How often do you check to see if anyone's inside?" "About once every 10 years, said Griphook with a rather nasty grin. Something's really extraordinary had to be inside this top secret vault, Harry was sure, and he leaned forward eagerly, expecting to see fabulous jewels at the very last, but at first he thought it was empty. Then he noticed a grubby little package wrapped up in brown paper lying on the floor. Sorry, I lost the line. Hagrid picked it up and tucked it deep inside his coat. Harry longed to know what it was, but knew better than to ask. Come on, back in this infernal cart and don't talk to me on the way back. On the way back, it's best if I keep my mouth shut, said Hagrid. One wildcard rider later, they stood blinking in the sunlight outside Gringotts. Harry didn't know where to run first now that he had a bag full of money. He didn't have to know how many galleons there were to a pound to know that he was holding more money than he had had in his whole life, more money than even Dudley had ever had. Hagrid said, "Might as well get your uniform." He nodded towards Madame Malkin's robe for all occasions. "Listen, Harry, would you mind if I slipped off for a pick-me-up in the Leaky Cauldron? I hate them Gringotts cards." He did still look a bit sick, so Harry entered Madame Malkin's shop alone, feeling nervous. Madame Malkin was a squat, smiling witch dressed all in mauve. "Hogwarts, dear," she said, when Harry dared to speak. Got a lot there. Got a lot here. Another young man being fitted up just now. In fact, in the back of the shop, a boy with a pale, pointed face was standing on a footstool while a second which pinned up his long black robes. Madame Malcolm stood Harry on a stool next to him, slipped a long robe over his head, and began to pin it to the right ledge. "Hula," said the boy. "Hogwarts too?" "Yes," said Harry. "My father's next door buying me books and mother's up the street looking at wands," said the boy. He had a bored, trolling voice. "Then I'm going to drag them off to look at racing brooms. I don't see why first years can't have their own. I think I'll bully father into getting me one and I'll smuggle it in somehow." Harry was strongly reminded of Dudley. "Have you got your own broom?" the boy went on. "No," said Harry. "Play Quidditch at all?" "No," said Harry again, wondering what on earth Quidditch could be. "I do. Father says it's a crime if I'm not picked to play for my house, and I must say I agree." "No, what house you will be in yet?" "No," said Harry, feeling more stupid by the minute. "Well, no one really knows until they get there, do they? But I know I will be in Slytherin. All our family have been. Imagine being Hufflepuff. I think I would leave, wouldn't you?" "Hmm," said Harry, wishing he could say something a bit more interesting. I say, look at that man," said the boy suddenly, nodding towards the front window. Hagrid was standing there, grinning at Hatting and pointing at two large ice creams to show he couldn't come in. "That's Hagrid," said Harry, pleased to know something the boy didn't. "He works at Hogwarts." "Oh," said the boy, "I've heard of him. He's a sort of servant, isn't he?" "He's a gamekeeper," said Harry. He was liking the boy less and less every second. "Ah, yes, exactly. I heard he's a sort of savage. Lives in a hut in the school grounds, and every now every now and then he gets drunk, tries to go do magic, and ends up setting his fire to his bed." "I think he's brilliant," said Harry coldly. "Ah, do you?" said the boy with a slight sneer. "Why is he with you? Where are your parents?" "They are dead," said Harry shortly. He didn't feel much like going into the matter with this boy. "Oh, sorry," said the other, not sounding worried at all. "But they were our kind, weren't they?" "They were a witch and a wizard, if that's what you mean. I really don't think very should. I really don't think they should let the other sort in. Do you? They are just not the same. They are never been brought up to know our ways. Some of them have never even heard of Hogwarts until they get the letter. Imagine. I think they should keep it in the old wizards' families. What's your surname, anyway? But before Harry could answer, Madame Malcolm said, "That's you done, my dear." And Harry, not sorry for an excuse to stop talking to the boy, hopped down from the footstool. "Well, I see you at Hogwarts, I suppose," said the drawling boy. Harry was rather quiet as he ate the ice cream Hackett had bought him, chocolate and raspberry with chopped nuts. "What's up?" said Hagrid. "Nothing," Harry lied. They stopped it. They stopped to buy parchment and quills. Harry cheered up a bit when he found a bottle of ink that changed colors as you wrote. When they had left the shop, he said, "Hagrid, what's Quidditch?" "Ah, blimey, Harry, I keep forgetting how little you know, not knowing about Quidditch." "Ah, don't make me feel worse," said Harry. He told Hackett about the pale boy in Madame Malkin's, and he said people from Muggle families shouldn't even be allowed in. "You're not from a Muggle family. If he had known who you were, he's grown up knowing your name if his parents are wizards in Folk. You saw him in Leaky Cauldron. Anyway, what does he know? What does he know about it? Some of the best I ever saw were the only ones with magic in them in a long line of muggles. Look at your mom, and look what she had for a sister." "So what is Quidditch?" "It's our sport, wizard sport. It's like football in the Muggle world. Everyone follows Quidditch, played up in the air on broomsticks, and there are 4 balls. Sorta hard to explain the rules." "And what are Slytherin and Hufflepuff?" "Schoolhouses. There are 4. Everyone says Hufflepuff are a lot of duvers, but oh, I bet I'm in Hufflepuff," said Harry gloomily. "Better Hufflepuff than Slytherin," said Hackett darkly. "There's not a single witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin. You know who was one? You know who was in Hogwarts?" "Yes, years ago," said Hagrid. They bought Harry's school books and a shop and a rider and so on and so on and so on. So, I jumped a bit over. Outside the apothecary, Hagrid checked Harry's list. "Ah, just your went left. Oh yeah, and I still haven't got you a birthday present." Harry felt himself to go red. "Oh, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to. Tell you what, I'll get your animal. I will get your animal. Not a toad. Toads went out of fashion years ago. You'd be laughed at. Uh, and I don't like cats. They make me sneeze. I'll get you an owl. All the kids want owls. They are dead, useful, carry your post and everything." 20 minutes later, they left Aelop's Owl's Emporium, which had been dark and full of rustling and flickering jewel-bright eyes, and Harry now carried a large cage which held a beautiful snowy owl. "So, I have a oil since my teenager time, and this is my Hedwig." Yeah. So now the team is complete. And the oil is fast asleep with her head under her wings. He couldn't stop stammering his thanks, sounding just like Professor Quirrell. "Don't mention it," said Hackett gruffly. "Don't expect you have had a lot presents from the Dursley." Ah, just Ollivander's left now. Only place for wands. Ollivander's, and you gotta have the best wand. A magic wand. This was what Harry had been really looking forward to. The last shop was narrow and shabby. Peeling gold letters over the door read Ollivanders, makers of fine wands since 382 BC. A single wand lay on a faded purple cushion in the dusty window. No? It's like this here. A tinkling bell rang somewhere in the depths of the shop as they stepped inside. It was a tiny place, empty except for a simple spindly chair which Hagrid sat on to wait. Harry felt strangely as though he had entered a very strict library. He swallowed a lot of new questions which had just occurred to him and looked instead at the thousands of narrow boxes piled neatly right up to the ceiling. For some reason, the back of his neck prickled. There were dust and silence in here seemed to tingle with some secret magic. Good afternoon, said a soft voice. Harry jumped. Hagrid must have jumped too, because there was a loud crunching noise and he got quickly off the spindly chair. An old man was standing before them, his white, pale eyes shining like moons through the gloom of the shop. Hello, said Harry. And now a very difficult word. Equardly? Ah, yes, said the man. Yes. I thought I'd be seeing you soon, Harry Potter. It wasn't a question. You have your mother's eyes. It seems only yesterday she was in here herself, buying her first wand, 10¼ inches long, swishy, made of willow. Nice wand for charm work. Mr. Ollivander moved closer to Harry. Harry wished he would blink. Those silvery eyes were a bit creepy. And your father, on the other hand, favored a mahogany wand, 11 inches, pliable, a little more power and excellent for transfiguration. Well, I say your father favored it. It's really the wand that chose the wizard, of course. Mr. Ollivander had come so close that he and Harry were almost nose to nose. Harry could see himself reflect in those misty eyes. And that's where Mr. Ollivander touched the lightning scar on Harry's forehead with a long, white finger. I'm sorry to say I sold the wand that did it, he said softly. 13½ inches. Yeah, powerful wand, very powerful, and in the wrong hands. Well, if I had known what that wand was going out into the world to do. He shook his head and then, to Harry's relief, spotted Hagrid. Rubeus Hagrid, how nice to see you again. Oak, 16 inches, razor brandy, wasn't it? Yes, sir, it was, said Hagrid. Good wand, that one. But I suppose they snapped it in half when you got expelled, said Ollivander, suddenly stern. Yes, they did, yes, said Hagrid, shuffling his feet. I've still got the Pisces sword, he added brightly. But you don't use them, said Mr. Ollivander sharply. Oh, no, sir, said Hagrid quickly. Harry noticed he gripped his pink umbrella very tightly as he spoke. Said Mr. Ollivander, giving Hagrid a piercing look. Well, now, Mr. Potter, let me see. He pulled a long tape measure with silver markings out of his pocket. Which is your wand arm? Well, I'm right-handed, said Harry. Hold out your arm. That's it. He measured Harry from shoulder to finger, from shoulder to shoulder, and the long way, and the on, and here, and here, and here. So, moment, we use our, okay, and as he measured, he said, every Ollivander wand has a core of a powerful magical substance. Mr. Potter. We use unicorn hairs, phoenix tail feathers, and the he-strings of dragons, or the hair-strings of dragons. No two Ollivander wands are the same, just as no two uniforms. Just as no two unicorns, dragons or phoenixes are quite the same. And of course, you will never get such good results with another wizard's wand. Harry suddenly realized that the tape measure, which was measured between nostril, was doing this on its own. Mr. Ollivander was flitting around the shelves, taking down boxes. Oh, that will do, he said, and the tape measure crumbled into a heap on the floor. Right then, Mr. Potter, try this one. Beechwood and dragon heartstring, 9 inches. Nice and flexible. Just take it and give it a wave. Harry took the wand and, feeling foolish, waved it around a bit, but Mr. Ollivander snatched it out of his hand almost at at once. Mabel and Phoenix feather, 7 inches, quite wiping. Try. Harry tried, but he had hardly raised the wand when it too was snatched back by Mr. Ollivander. No, here. Ebony and unicorn hair, 8.5 inches. Springy. Go on, try. Harry tried and tried. He had no idea what Mr. Ollivander was waiting for. The pile of dried wands was mounting higher and higher and on the spindly chair. But the more wands Mr. Ollivander pulled from the shelves, the happier he seemed to become. Trickier customer, huh? Not to worry. We'll find the perfect match for you here somewhere. I wonder now, yes, why not? Unusual combination. Holy and phoenix feather, 11 inches, nice and supple. Harry took the wand. He felt a sudden warmth in his fingers. He raised the wand above his head, brought it swishing down through the dusty air, and a stream of red and gold sparks shot from the end like a firework, throwing dancing spots of light onto the walls. Hagrid whooped and clapped, and Mr. Ollivander cried, "Oh, bravo! Yes, indeed! Oh, very good! Well! How curious! How very curious!" He put Harry's wand back into its box and wrapped it in brown paper, still muttering, "Curious! Sorry," said Harry, "but what's curious?" Mr. Ollivander fixed Harry with his pale stare. "I remember every wand I've ever sold, Mr. Potter, every single one. It so happens that the phoenix whose tail feather is in your wand gave another feather, just one other. It is very curious indeed that you should be destined for this wand when its brother, why, its brother gave you that scar." Harry swallowed. "Yes, 13.5 inches. Yeah, curious indeed how these things happen. The wand chooses the wizard, remember. I think we must expect great things from you, Mr. Potter. After all, he who must not be named did great things. Terrible, yes, but great. Harry shivered. He wasn't sure he liked Mr. Ollivander too much. He paid 7 gold galleons for his wand, and Mr. Ollivander bought them from his shop. The late afternoon sun hung low in the sky as Harry and Hagrid made their way back down Diagon Alley, back through the wall, back through the Leaky Cauldron, and was now empty, and Harry didn't speak at all as they walked down the road. He didn't even notice how much people were grabbing at them on the underground, laden as they were with all their funny-shaped packages, with the sleeping snowing owl on Harry's lap. Up another escalator, but into Paddington Station. Harry only realized where they were when Hagrid tapped him on the shoulder. "Got time for a bit to eat before your train leaves," he said. He bought Harry a hamburger so and they sat down on plastic seats to eat them. Harry kept looking kept looking around. Everything looked so strange somehow. "You all right, Harry?" "You're very quiet," said Hagrid. Harry wasn't sure he could explain. He had just had the best birthday of his life, and yet he chewed his hamburger, trying to find the words. Let's take a look. Okay. "Everyone thinks I'm special," he said at last. "All those people in the Leaky Cauldron, Professor Quirrell, Mr. Ollivander, but I don't know anything about magic at all. How can they expect great things? I'm famous and I can't even remember what I'm famous for. I don't know what happened when the night my parents died." Hackett leaned across the table. Behind the white beard and eyebrows he wore a very kind smile. "Don't you worry, Harry. You will learn fast enough. Everyone starts at the beginning at Hogwarts. You'll be just fine. Just be yourself. I know it's hard. You've been signed out, and that's always hard. But you will have a great time in Hogwarts. I did. Still do. As a matter of fact." Hackett helped Harry on to the train what would take him back to the Dursley, then handed him an envelope. "Your ticket for Hogwarts," he said. "1st of September. King's Cross. It's all on your ticket. Any problems with the Dursleys, send me a letter with your owl. She will know where to find me. See you soon, Harry." The train pulled out of the station. Harry wanted to watch Hackett until he was out of sight. He rose in his seat and pressed his nose against the window, but he blinked and Hackett had gone. So, now. The next is King's Cross. So, could you hear it? I get to be better. Tschüss.